A PC version for Microsoft Windows was planned, with the Seaman being able to interact with the user's applications. No release date was specified, and it was later cancelled. Oh no, that sucks. Seaman became one of the most memorable and successful games on Sega's last console, garnering a cult following, and afterward the series would proudly swim on and make a big splash on the PlayStation 2 in Japan. As it started heading towards Sony's shores, however, the IP would dip its toes in the waters of PC and mobile gaming, if only briefly and in a unique way that's a bit different from what one might expect. This here is SeaMail version 1.0, Baby Gillman edition for the PC, compatible with several Windows operating systems, Windows 98 2nd Edition, Millennium Edition, 2000, and the beloved XP. You're looking at the retail version of SeaMail, which was released on February 27, 2003, carrying an MSRP of 2,980 yen. Perhaps the most perfect way to sum up the purpose of this particular piece of PC software is to procure it point blank from the producer of Seaman. Here's an excerpt from a 2019 interview with publication The Verge, where Seaman creator Yut Saito briefly talks SeaMail.
SeaMail is a kind of prototype on a more versatile PC platform that exchanges slightly more complicated words. Due to budget constraints, it didn't get very far in completion, but was a very ambitious attempt. So, Seaman, unlike the user, lives in the desktop world of a multi-purpose PC and looks at the content of the user's emails, frequency of interaction with specific people, and comments about the user's relationships with others. It was a lot like the current Siri.
Immediately after installing the program, the titular Baby Gillman shows up to swim around and explore the desktop, which he'll do automatically each time you boot up your PC. A calendar and a command console will also appear on the desktop, but unfortunately due to compatibility issues with my laptop, the console doesn't show up and function properly. Anyway, this small fry will wander around your wallpaper and eventually swim somewhere out of sight. However, tapping anywhere on the desktop with a mouse will call him back.
Hi.
From here, he'll ask what you want him to do, which you can answer via a drop-down list of options, most of which are connected to electronic messaging and scheduling. These include basic things like checking for new emails, having the Baby Gillman tell you the time or date, or configuring a bunch of settings in a preferences menu. One of the main features of SeaMail is related to the aforementioned calendar, where you can set up all sorts of appointments and have your PC pet remind you of them. Whenever he speaks with you, he does so via voice in a text bubble with lines delivered in that classic cheeky attitude established in the Dreamcast title.
この変な人と約束が入ってるよ。覚えといてね。
And similar to the original game, you can put the Seaman into a giggle fit by scrolling up and down on the mouse wheel to tickle him. You know, like a good Seaman owner would. But sickos can take pleasure in torturing the poor thing by picking him up and dragging him across the computer screen, or smacking him around with the left mouse clicker. Be warned, pick on and anger him enough and he'll become uncooperative, and maybe send an email to the proper authorities, you monster. I'm not a monster though. Remember, I did this for important research purposes.
いい加減にしろ。
You can open up an address book and add new contacts, provide information like sex, birthday, and what your relationship is to the person, and in addition to the basics, you can check whether or not this contact is also a SeaMail user. If so, when sending messages or making appointments with this person, your virtual pet will pay a visit to his or her desktop to drop it off and come back with a reply, and vice versa. Instant messaging with Seaman. The retail version of SeaMail came with a bonus disc, the Present Disc, a concept similar to Christmas Seaman on the Dreamcast. This time, however, the disc contains a complete copy of SeaMail, generously granting 2 software licenses for the price of 1 and allowing the original purchaser to experience SeaMail's special online communication functionality with at least one other person. The game's subtitle is Ningen Kanke Shufuku Hozen Petto, or the pet that repairs and preserves human relationships. And a big draw with SeaMail is the baby Gillman making observations and suggestions regarding the user's email and relationships in classic Seaman style, as mentioned in the earlier quote from Mr. Saito. Let it be known, Seaman brings people together. Unfortunately though, I can't explore every single feature of the software, which also includes the baby Gillman feeding on emails, but hopefully what I've shown and described so far gives a general idea of what SeaMail is all about. While it's certainly a novelty item, it also serves as a great scheduling and messaging application with a lot of personality and creativity, something to brighten up one's usual and perhaps mundane routine on the computer. It's meant to be used with a constant connection to the internet, specifically for broadband, though it can be used offline, obviously with limited functionality. By now you've surely taken notice that I didn't mention anything about growth or evolution or even oral communication, which were the Dreamcast Seaman's hallmark characteristics. Well, neither is possible in SeaMail, at least as far as I know. This is obviously based on what I've experienced, but also what's in the manual, the back of the box, and what little information about it is available online, which is basically nothing. However, reports from news websites from the time presented a more ambitious project, and many of the elements Vivarium planned for SeaMail had to be cut out completely during development. For starters, SeaMail was originally announced as Seaman for Windows in the year 2000, with the official name change taking place in early 2001. Since the name Seaman for Windows disappeared when it became SeaMail, that may explain the widely held belief that the PC edition of Seaman was ultimately cancelled. Screenshots that accompanied initial coverage of the project exclusively featured the Podman version of Seaman, you know, the one with the flipper legs, which suggests that the Seaman was supposed to grow over time like its Dreamcast counterpart. Additionally, there was a lot of emphasis placed on voice chat functionality, taking full advantage of IBM's ViaVoice EasySnap voice recognition technology, which would feature high accuracy with the ability for the AI to learn from users. I'm not sure whether these were cut due to time or budget constraints or difficulties with implementation, but both would have been very welcome additions for Seaman fans and made the SeaMail experience much more substantial. SeaMail was originally planned for a first quarter 2001 release, exclusively for subscribers of esal.net. Yes, the esal.net mentioned in the Dreamcast part, with an updated PC version and cross-compatible mobile phone application to follow shortly in the second quarter, and finally a game console edition to release in the second half of the year. Apparently, the plan to distribute the software to esal.net users actually went through, and a rare not-for-sale version of SeaMail exists. In a campaign to increase subscriptions to esal.net, the first 100,000 people who signed up under a special recruiting campaign between March 15th and April 30th, 2001 would receive the software, which could only be used with other esal.net members. In a blog entry from March 18th, 2001, Saito talks about SeaMail and its release, mentioning that free CD-ROM editions were being given out at electronic stores Yodobashi Camera and T-Zone. Something odd about Mr. Saito's post is that he attached a SeaMail image of the Podman on the desktop. Maybe this was an old placeholder image he happened to have on hand or found quickly online, or maybe the old version included some form of evolution or the option to choose which desktop pet the user wanted. I imagine the 2003 retail version is essentially the same as this 2001 edition, but I can't confirm it myself. The free 2001 version of SeaMail is extremely difficult to find, and I've only stumbled across 2 images of it online. One from an old entry on the Yodobashi online store, and another of a photo taken for an eBay auction from years back. The cover art is basically identical to the retail version, however, the Baby Gillman edition text is absent, some esal.net promotional text is present, and the version is slightly different, 1.0J. I wish I could provide more details on this original version, but since I don't own the disc, and I doubt I could get it to run even if I did, I have to rely on the internet, and let's just say it's quite difficult searching for anything SeaMail related in Japanese because, well, take a look for yourself. The console and mobile ports of SeaMail never came to fruition, however Seaman did come to cell phones thanks to the joint development of Vivarium and telecommunications and media giant Dwango. If you're not familiar with the name Dwango, you're most likely familiar with some of its subsidiaries, such as game publisher Spike Chunsoft and the Japanese streaming platform Nico Nico Doga. The first mobile offering was the ability to use Seaman's voice through a customizable ringtone service in late 2001 called Iro Melomix, which was even advertised on Japanese TV at the time. That's pretty cool, though eventually a true mobile application was published in 2002 for Japan's now legendary pre-smartphone internet cellular service iMode, starting with the 504i series and then with later models such as the 505i as well as the 900i. This application was also advertised on television and was similar in function to SeaMail, even sharing a nearly identical subtitle, Seaman, Machiuke gata ningen kanke shufuku hozen petto. Seaman, the human relationship repair and preservation background pet. Featuring the iconic Gillman form of the Seaman, for a fee of 300 or so yen a month, he'd help you manage your communications and other phone settings, give some feedback and philosophical musings, and just make your phone screen kinda weird, but in a good way. I'd love to show and tell more, but like so many mobile games and software from this era, it's seemingly lost with no dumps of the ROM online nor any videos outside of the commercial. I tried to find something else to share here, but all I could gather were a few old news articles, many with broken links, and the screenshots I've shown. If anyone out there has access to this mobile Seaman application, I don't know, call me maybe? Experimentation, innovation, risk-taking. Concepts that sum up the Seaman series on the Dreamcast, PC, and mobile phone platforms. However, it would play things a little safer and stick to the road previously traveled, at least for a time, when it finally arrived at the gates of the undisputed king of the 6th gen of gaming consoles, the PlayStation 2. And that's part 2 of the big video covering all Seaman games in Japan. Check out part 1 on the Dreamcast if you haven't already, and stay tuned for the continuation. This is Jimmy Hoppa, who is willing to pay high dollars for Seaman. Take care.